I walked into the family business ready to work for my sister, and she fired me on my very first day. What she didn't know was that I owned 72% of the company, and everything she thought was hers was about to vanish in front of her eyes. Jake sat in the cab of his 8-year-old F-150, the November wind slicing across the parking lot like a straight razor, watching the American flag above Harlan Hardware flagship 001 snap and pop in the cold air. The November wind cut across the parking lot like a straight razor, the kind of cold that finds the gap between your collar and your neck and stays there. I sat in the cab of my 8-year-old F-150 with the engine running, heater blasting, watching the American flag above Harlan Hardware flagship 001 snap and pop in the wind. 18 locations now. 18! Dad would have lost his mind with pride. I killed the engine, grabbed the new company polo still stiff with sizing, and walked toward the employee entrance like a man walking into his own past. Tom Riley met me at the time clock with the same bear paw handshake he'd given me when I was 16 and sneaking cigarettes behind the lumber racks. Jake Harlan, damn if you don't look just like your old man when he was 35. Good to see you too, Tom. Sarah was already waiting in the manager's office, arms folded so tight her blazer looked vacuum sealed. 38 going on 50, stress lines carved deep around her mouth, eyes the same ice blue as mine, but colder than the wind outside. "You're late," she said, though I was 7 minutes early. Traffic on 270 was murder. She didn't smile. She never smiled anymore, not at me. She gave me the tour like a prison guard showing a new inmate the yard, pointed at aisles, barked procedures, introduced me to people who already knew exactly who I was. I kept my mouth shut and nodded, soaking it in. The smell of fresh cut pine, the metallic tang of galvanized nails, the low hum of fluorescent lights and country music leaking from someone's radio and plumbing. By 10:30, I was helping a contractor, Mike DeSalvo, load 12 sheets of drywall into his trailer. Mike clapped me on the back. "Your sister runs a tight ship, but man, she's been riding us hard lately. Glad there's another Harlan on deck." I smiled like I hadn't just been demoted to sheetrock Sherpa on day one. Lunch break. I found Sarah in the paint booth office, door half open, scrolling her phone. I knocked once and walked in. "Hey, quick thing. I noticed we're still using paper inventory tickets in lumber. I know a cloud-based system that would cut overstock by 15, maybe 20%. I seen it work in California warehouses. I could get us a demo for..." Her head snapped up. "Stop. Sarah. No. You don't get to walk in here after 12 years of cashing checks and start redesigning my company on day one. It's our company. It's been my company since the day Dad's heart stopped beating and you were too busy closing Series B rounds in San Francisco to fly home for the funeral." The words landed like a slap. I felt my pulse in my teeth. "I was on a plane 12 hours after Mom called," I said quietly. "I sat beside his bed for 4 days while you handled the arrangements. Don't rewrite history." She stood up so fast, the chair rolled back and slammed the wall. "You got 72% because you were the son, because you were the one he talked to about vision and scale, while I was the one changing his morphine drip at 3 a.m. You got the golden ticket and you ran. And now you're back because your marriage imploded and your little app turned to shit and you need somewhere soft to land. Well, guess what, Jake? This isn't soft. This is mine. Get out." The entire store went quiet. I could hear the beep of a forklift in reverse outside the glass. I looked at her for a long second. Really looked. The sister who used to let me ride on the handle of her bike when I was 6, who taught me how to drive stick in the back lot, who cried in my arms the night Dad told her she'd never have controlling interest because Jake's the one with the head for the big picture. That girl was gone. "Understood," I said. I took off the polo, folded it neatly, laid it on her desk like surrendering a white flag. Then I walked out past 20 employees who suddenly found the floor fascinating. I didn't slam the door. I didn't need to. The drive home was a blur of red lights and rage. I pulled over on I-270, put my forehead against the steering wheel, and let the tears come. Not for the job, for the sister I thought I still had. That night, I opened the fireproof safe in my apartment closet. Inside the original share certificates, Dad's handwriting on the subscription agreement, the trust documents, the proxy I'd signed 12 years ago giving Sarah voting rights until such time as Jacob R. Harlan chooses to exercise direct control. I stared at the percentage typed in bold. 72%. I called Bob Reynolds, the family attorney who'd known me since I was in diapers. Bob, it's Jake. I'm exercising direct control, effective immediately. Schedule a special board meeting for next Friday, and send me every financial statement for the last 5 years, every expense report, every vendor contract, all of it. There was a pause. Then, welcome home, Mr. Chairman. The next 10 days were surgical. I worked quietly. Breakfast at the same diner Dad loved on High Street, coffee black, eggs over easy, talking to old suppliers who hadn't been paid net 30 in 18 months, lunches at other stores, buying pizza for the crew, listening. Employees who'd been terrified to speak for years suddenly talked about Sarah screaming fits, about her consultant boyfriend, Derek, who'd been on payroll 3 years and never showed up once, about bonuses she paid herself while cutting health insurance copays, about the lake house in Hocking Hills titled in the company name. I took notes. I took screenshots. I took names. Lisa Carter, head of Garden and Outdoor, high school girlfriend who got away, was the last person I expected to see leaning against my truck after closing one night. "You okay?" she asked. Same freckles across her nose, same voice that used to make my 17-year-old heart jackhammer. "Been better. She shouldn't have done that to you. She thinks it's hers. She really does." Lisa looked toward the darkening sky. "She tells everyone you abandoned the company, that you only care about money. People believe her because you let them." I exhaled. Not anymore. Friday, November 28th, 2025. Boardroom at headquarters. Mahogany table Dad had shipped from Michigan in 1998. Portraits of Grandfather Harlan and Dad on the wall, both looking down like disappointed ghosts. Sarah walked in laughing with the CFO about Q4 projections, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. She stopped dead when she saw me at the head of the table, Bob Reynolds on my right, stack of folders in front of me. "What the hell is this?" "Special meeting of the board of directors," I said, called by the majority shareholder. "Have a seat, Sarah." She didn't. "You can't." "I can. Section 7.3 of the bylaws. Majority shareholder can call a special meeting with 48 hours notice. You were served Tuesday." Her face went the color of fresh primer. Bob slid the agenda across the table. Item 1, removal of Sarah E. Harlan as Chief Executive Officer and Director, with cause. Item 2, appointment of Jacob R. Harlan as Interim CEO. Item 3, ratification of immediate forensic audit. Sarah finally sat. "You absolute bastard," I said. "Let's be accurate. I'm the bastard who owns 72%. I opened the first folder, projected the expense reports on the screen behind me. Trips to Napa, labeled Industry Conference, $187,000 in consulting fees to Derek J. Whitmore, who, according to LinkedIn, was currently bartending in Cincinnati. The lake house, the leased Mercedes G-Wagon, the $340,000 retention bonus she paid herself the same month she froze employee 401k matches. The board, 2 independent directors who'd been Dad's fishing buddies, and 1 retired banker who owed me favors, sat in stunned silence. Sarah tried to interrupt 12 times. I let her. Every time she opened her mouth, it just gave me another soundbite for the recording. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Even Uncle Ed, who'd always been her biggest defender, looked sick as he raised his hand. Sarah stood up so fast her chair tipped over. This is my life. 12 years I gave this place. 12 years while you were sipping martinis on rooftops in Soma? You gave it 12 years while taking everything that wasn't nailed down, I said. Difference is, I'm stopping the bleeding. She looked around the table for an ally and found none. You want to know the best part? I said quietly. You fired me in front of the whole store. Told everyone this was your company. Remember? I nodded to security, two off-duty Columbus cops who'd once worked loss prevention for Dad. Miss Harlan is no longer employed here. Please escort her from the building. She screamed the whole way out, called me every name she'd never dared say to my face when we were kids. Something about Dad rotting in hell for trusting me, something about Mom never forgiving me. The doors closed behind her. Silence. Then Tom Riley, who'd been invited as a guest, started clapping. Slow at first, then the whole room joined in. Someone whistled. I didn't smile. Not yet. Later that afternoon, I stood on the loading dock where Dad used to smoke his camels and watch the sun go down over the lumberyard. Lisa found me there. So the prince finally took the throne, she said softly. I didn't want the throne. I wanted my sister back. Lisa leaned against the railing beside me. Maybe you still can have her, just not at the expense of everyone else here. I looked at her, really looked. Same freckles, same calm that used to steady me when the world felt too big. I'm keeping her lake house in the company name, turning it into a management training center. She can visit anytime she wants, but she'll have to book it like everyone else. Lisa laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard in months. 6 months later, the company was profitable again, really profitable. We went digital on inventory, launched online order with in-store pickup, brought back the 401k match, gave every employee a Christmas bonus for the first time in 4 years. I promoted Tom to COO. Lisa accepted the VP of merchandising title she deserved for years. Sarah sent one email 3 months after the coup. No apology, just a forwarded listing for a hardware chain in Florida that was hiring a hands-on experienced operator. I wrote back, position here is still open. Store number 001 needs an assistant manager. Starting pay $52K plus benefits. Same offer I had. She never replied. Some nights, I still drive past the old house where Mom lives alone now. The porch light is always on. Sometimes I think about knocking. Most nights, I keep driving. But every morning, I walk into that flagship store and the smell of sawdust and coffee hits me the same way it did when I was 10 years old, following Dad around in a little red vest 2 sizes too big. This time, the vest fits. And the flag above the door flies for all of us.